Hi, welcome back to April for my bullet journal. If this is the first time that you've watched one of my videos, hi, welcome. If you're back again, I hope you enjoy this month as much as previous ones. This month for my bullet journal, I've chosen, it's a theme around comfort. So I chose books and tea. They're two things that really bring me a lot of comfort and joy, so this is what we're doing. Now, I sort of sat there and I was going to do another pop-up for this month, and I had sort of an idea in place of what I would do. And then for some reason I was just sitting there playing with ideas, and this image popped into my head of this illustration that I'm drawing out now. And I just thought, no, actually I really like that as an idea, so I'll draw that instead. So of course, someone lying in an armchair with a book, cup of tea, and their puppy dog lying on the ground in front of them. So this would be a happy place for me, very much so. So yeah, I decided that I'd just do that illustration instead. I did contemplate watercoloring it again, but then I thought, no, we did watercolor last month for this, so I'll go back to markers and just make it a little bit more solid. For some of the coloring in, it probably would have been easier to do it with watercolor than markers, just because, but it's perfectly fine. Everything works really well at the end of the process, so that's all good. So everything's going quite well with my bullet journal, but it is one of those things that I'm starting to realize that I'm really using it as a sketchbook, and that's good. Like, it's working for me. The creativity is working for me, but it means that it's getting really detailed. So when I was drawing up this month, basically the process I use is I have a big A3 notepad and I do up thumbnails to get layouts for the double page spreads for the entire month and work out what elements I might want to put in, and then I'll practice sketch out some of the elements to check that, how I might put them together and how that might work. And then I will pencil sketch it out into the bullet journal itself. And then I start recording it when I obviously do all the pen work and the colouring and everything else. So all of the sketching and everything else is done in slower time, of course, just to sort of check that everything looks a bit right. And you can't really see me drawing in pencil, so I don't really see great value in showing that part of the process. This is the more interesting part of the process, is the colour and movement makes everything come together and come alive. So as I was pulling it all together for this month, I sort of sat there and looked at it and went, oh yeah, this is getting quite detailed actually. And it's probably taking, it takes the better part of a day for me to draw it up, to sketch it all out, and then to draw it up like this. I do it over a couple of days, but to draw it all up like this and then do this voiceover and pull it together as a video, it's actually quite labor intensive, but I'm enjoying it. So I'll keep doing it for the time being. We'll see how we go. But it's quite an interesting process, and I am really enjoying the process of this. So, I love the bullet journal because I find that it really helps my brain, and it's the best way that I've found to actually keep track of the things that I'm doing, and to also, keep note about when things are going on and how I'm feeling about the world and everything else. So it's great for that. But the other thing is that it is pretty much like a little bit of my sketchbook for me, so it's good fun for that as well. Of course, just a quick reminder, you do not need to make it nearly this detailed. You really don't. Like, your mood tracker can literally be boxes on the page. It does not need to be that detailed. I find it helps keep me interested in it, and I find it really interesting. So health and mood tracker, of course, that we just went through. Now we're on the first week of April, and you can see that I've had to do a bit of a fix because my brain just went, oh, Monday, Tuesday. No, the 1st of April is a Thursday, which is why there is a quote on this page, Kylie. So yeah, just quickly grab some washi tape and cover it over, and that just makes it a little bit easier so that my brain doesn't go completely conniption. But I am getting much better at the allowing for errors in this, because errors will come. For example, on the first page where I was drawing the rug, or where I was colouring in the rug, I'm really not happy with the colour that it came out. So I think it clashes too much with the armchair and I'm not really happy with it. But, you know, that's how it is and that's how it comes out. And it is quite good for me to go through and have this process where it's like, no, look, at the end of the day, it's a notebook. It's my diary. That's what it is. So it by no means needs to be perfect. And putting errors in, having limitations of colour and maybe not selecting the best colour because there was a limitation in what I had available to me. These are all challenges that are good to actually try to address when you're being creative. It's good to give yourself limitations and to create problems that you then have to try and fix, because it does sort of try and, well, it makes you more creative. You need to think about things with a little bit more of a problem-solving mindset sometimes, which is good. So the quote that I included this month, you can never get a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me, which is a C.S. Lewis quote. And yeah, just sort of, this one came together quite well. Some of the other ones I've sort of struggled with how I was going to lay them out and everything. But there, of course, aren't as many illustration elements in this as I've had in some of the previous ones as well. But what I did put in here, I mean, this teacup's ridiculous. It did not need to have this level of detail in it. I could have put a nice, really simple pattern on it, but for some reason I needed it to be detailed, but who knows? It's just how my brain works sometimes. But yeah, this one came together quite easily, so it's quite good. Now, getting into more of the weeks, I decided that I would do a stack of teacups because, you know, we're doing tea and a stack of teacups looks quite cute and you can get a good sort of burst of colour in there as well when you put them all in. So we've got the teacups going up the centre. I'm staying with the same layout that I had for last month. I'm finding it works quite well. I'll probably go back to the boxes again next month. I think I'm probably going to, you know, just sort of go back and forth between those two layouts because they both are working quite well for me. Which is good because previously I really could only do the boxes and yeah, this sort of wasn't really an option, but it seems to have adjusted in my brain, and I sort of work with the rectangles as two columns a little bit, which works quite well. So I decided to go back to watercolour because it's a nice splash of colour, and I do have a limitation of, you know, what sort of markers I have, and I sort of wanted to keep a bit of a purpley blue, reddy sort of central theme. And I don't have a lot of different coloured markers to allow for a bit of texture in that, and I didn't want them to be just plain flat colour. So I went with the watercolours again. But as is evidenced when I turn the page, this did bleed through a little bit. And that's fine. You know, it's 160 GSM paper. It shouldn't bleed through, but I got a little bit enthusiastic and there's a little bit too much water on a couple of these components. So it did bleed through a little bit, but that's fine. So days of the week and everything are tea bags, of course. And I quite like that. It was pretty cute. Then we move on to the next week, which I've really sort of centered around books, of course, quite obviously. And pulled these together. Still a little bit of a teacup and a cupcake in here as well, but sort of focused around drawing books. And I like drawing books. They're super easy to draw. You can get caught up perspective-wise, and there was a lot of rubbing things out while I was trying to do like the stacks. So, you know, you definitely want to do pencil and draw the entire book underneath before you put the other one on top. Otherwise, your perspective's just going to be entirely out of whack. So it's pretty good as we go through. Now you'll notice, and you might have noticed when the mood tracker was being drawn as well, I draw some penguins, so penguin books in here as well. These little penguins are so super easy to draw and they're really cute. I'm so happy with them. It's insane how sometimes you draw little things that you just go, oh, that's pretty cute. I like that. And I just find them really easy to draw. I just sort of came up with a shape that works and it's quite nice. which is always good. It's always nice when you hit on one of those little motifs that you can draw really easily and quickly as well. So yeah, so this week is books, and of course the days of the week and everything are all bookmarks as well. So yep, nice, quick and simple and easy. So I hope that you're all having a lovely year, and that you are bullet journaling. Really give it a try if you've never tried it before. Think about sort of, starting it. You can start at any time. This is the beauty of it. A diary starts in January, but your bullet journal can start whenever you decide to start it. So, definitely have a think about it if you've not tried it before. It is a really good way of being able to capture what's going on, and track your tasking and do those things, but also track a little bit of journaling about how things have gone as well in that process. And of course, I've talked about mood trackers a number of times. They're just an amazing way of looking after your mental health and being just a little bit more self-aware about what's really going on for you and how you're going in the world. So yeah, just have a think about it if you're not doing it. This teacups and teapots, obviously a couple of different styles in here as well. So the bottom ones are Japanese. Yeah, Japanese sounds right. Might be Chinese, I don't know. I think it's Japanese. And then just, yeah, I tried not to overdo it with the patterns and everything on these ones, so I could draw them quite quickly. But also, make it a little bit approachable. It doesn't need to be this massively ornate thing. And I know I can sometimes err and do that a little bit too much. And then all the days of the week this month are all like tea labels. So they're labels for, different types of tea. They're not any specific brands or anything else. I just sort of, went generic like tea labels and looked at some of the different shapes and went, all right, I'll create some things that sort of look like that. In the last week of the month, I decided to do another little quote, because this is actually one of my favorite quotes. It's another C.S. Lewis one. For some reason, he has great quotes about books and reading. We read to know we're not alone. And I actually letterpressed this quote into a bookmark a number of years ago, and it really is, I just think that is what reading is. So it had to be included in here somewhere. So I decided to go really monotone with this, except for the little burst of red in there. And you can see that watercolor really bleeding through on this last page. And then really simple last layout of a notes page for the month. This did work quite well, so I'm happy with that. And then a reflection page. I'm leaving that and not putting any color on it right now, so that I can put color on it at the end of the month. So my bullet journal for April, books and tea, otherwise known as comfort. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you have been enjoying them. Please feel free to click like if you did. And thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.